Good morning, students. Today topic is yogurt and cheese production. This is very important and interesting topic. So why we have to learn yogurt and cheese? So this topic comes under 4-year paper Food and Industrial Microbiology. So this is very important topic. Why? Because yogurt and cheese, these two are the fermented milk products. So these two products have a very important commercial aspects. So that's why we have to learn yogurt and cheese not only for that purpose only. These two are very health benefit products. And coming to the definition of yogurt. What is yogurt? Yogurt is a food produced by bacterial fermentation of milk. So this is bacterial fermented milk product. So milk food. So mainly how yogurt is produced. What is the main principle involved in the yogurt production? So the main cultures in yogurt, that is nothing but starter culture, is the Lactobacillus bulgaricus and Streptococcus thermophilus. These two organisms play an important role in the conversion of milk sugar into lactic acid. The function of the starter culture is to ferment lactose. Lactose is the milk sugar, so that converts into lactic acid. Normally, milk contains a number of proteins, fat, carbohydrates, vitamins, and minerals. The milk color, white color, is due to the presence of casein protein. Okay, the increase in lactic acid decreases pH and causes the milk to clot or form the soft gel that is characteristic of yogurt. Once lactic acid produced, it causes the decrease in pH. So this decreased pH causes the milk to clot, that means coagulate, and forms the soft gel. So it is the characteristic feature of yogurt. And the fermentation of lactose also produces the flavor compounds that are the characteristic of yogurt. This is the flowchart that explains the process of yogurt production. Before going to the production process, we have to learn the main principle involved in the yogurt production. So normally milk contains a casein. Casein is the globular protein. So these proteins are denatured in the acid. That means they loses their tertiary and quaternary structure and they converted into fibrous proteins. So this fibrous proteins forms a thick texture, that means they forms the curd like appearance. So for the production of yogurt, mainly the milk first we have to standardize. Why we have to standardize? Normally milk contains some proteins and fat. Okay, we have to take good protein and fat content milk, and after that the milk is homogenized. What is the homogenization? Homogenization is nothing but passage of milk through narrow tubes with high velocity, that means with some force. This causes the distribution of fat globules throughout the milk. This causes the viscosity. After homogenization, we have to go for pasteurization. Why we have to go for pasteurization? Pasteurization mainly causes the removal of unwanted organisms, nothing but pathogenic organisms. That means milk is heated at a certain temperature for a period of time. For example, 85 to 90 degrees centigrade for 5 minutes. This pasteurization causes the elimination of unwanted organization. After pasteurization, we have to cool the milk for 40 to 45 degrees centigrade. Why? Because this temperature is enough for the inoculation of the starter culture. That means at this temperature microorganisms can survive and multiply. So, and in this step, we have to inoculate the starter culture, that is nothing but Lactobacillus bulgaricus and Streptococcus thermophilus. These two organisms are responsible for the acid production. So, some scientists says that Lactobacillus is mainly responsible for the lactic acid production, and some scientists says that Streptococcus is the main responsible for lactic acid production. However, these two are mainly responsible for the lactic acid production. Not only lactic acid production, they also are responsible for the some other flavoring agents also. So once they are inoculated, then the milk is incubated at 40 to 45 degrees centigrade. So this incubation causes the production of the lactic acid. That means not only production, the culture will also increased. Number of organisms will also increased. Once the pH is 4.5 is achieved, the milk is the curd is the yogurt is stored at 4 to 6 degrees centigrade. Why? Because at this temperature, the organisms uh, growth will be ceased. That means soreness of the yogurt will be controlled. So this is called set yogurt. And what are the health benefits of yogurt? It is easier to digest than milk. Why? Because it contains probiotics, that means a useful organism, helpful organisms. It is packed with a number of vitamins and proteins. It is a rich source of protein. It may help to lose weight. It also boosts immune system. It is mainly good for digestive system, and it is also helpful for bone strengthen. It may also help lower blood pressure. So not in case of foreign countries, so some flavoring agents, some fruits and some sweeteners are also added to the yogurt. And cheese production. Okay, so after yogurt production, okay, another topic is the cheese production. So what is the cheese? Cheese is the curd or substance formed by the coagulation of milk of certain mammals by rennet or similar enzyme in the presence of lactic acid produced by added or microorganisms. Clear? So, I think this is the very lengthy definition, but I will explain in very short form. Cheese cheese and yogurt, these two are also nothing but curds. That means they are the substances produced by the lactic acid production. But why yogurt is different from cheese? Yogurt is the soft gel nature, cheese is very hard in nature. Yogurt contains different flavor, cheese contains different flavors. Is there any difference between the yogurt and cheese? Certainly there is a lot of difference between the yogurt and cheese. For example, if you take cheese, cheese is the curd, so that is formed by the coagulation of milk of certain mammals by using rennet enzyme or in the presence of lactic acid. This lactic acid produced by microorganisms. In case of yogurt, yogurt is curd produced by the lactic acid bacteria, that is nothing but Lactobacillus Streptococcus thermophilus. But in case of cheese, cheese curd is produced by either rennet enzyme action or by lactic acid bacteria. Mainly, once the curd is formed, from which part of the moisture, that means from the cheese we have to remove some moisture by using cutting, warming and pressing, which has been shaped in mold and then ripened by holding for some time at suitable temperature and humidity. So in case of cheese, the water content can be removed. That means whey can be removed by using cutting, warming and pressing procedures. This leads to a particular shape given to the cheese, and then we go for ripening process by holding cheese for some time at suitable temperature and humidity. Cheese is produced from milk. This is carried out by a process of dehydration wherein casein and fats are concentrated 5 to 15 fold. So cheese production is very complicated and it has four stages. First one is the acidification of milk. Second one is the coagulum formation. Third one is the separation of curd from whey. And fourth one is the ripening of cheese. Okay, so and this picture. Yeah, I think we all are seeing the cheese image. Not only image, we can also we have already tasted the cheese flavor, and this is the flow chart that explains the cheese production. So for cheese production, what are the raw materials required? Same like in yogurt, we have some milk. For example, in cheese production, cow milk or buffalo milk is also used. Once milk is obtained, then the milk is preheated at 30 to 35 degrees centigrade. This preheat treatment mainly to eliminate unwanted organisms. After that, we have to filter and clarify the milk. Then we go for homogenization. Homogenization is nothing but passes of the milk through narrow tubes with high velocity. This causes the uniform viscosity of the milk, and then we go for purification of the milk. And we have to add some starter culture, that is nothing but lactic acid bacteria. This responsible for the coagulation, that means clot of the protein, casein protein. So once casein protein is coagulated, some water will form. This water, that is nothing but this yellow color fluid is called whey. Then we remove the whey and we go for cheddaring. Cheddaring is nothing but cutting the cheese mat into pieces and piled one by one, and they can strongly pressed to remove excess whey, and then press, and then we go for ripening, and then we go for marketing process. So this previous image explains the process of cheese production. So this matter explains the what are the steps involved in the cheese production. First point is that depending on the desired cheese, the milk may be pasteurized or mildly heat treated to reduce the number of spoilage organisms and improve the environment for the starter cultures to grow. Okay, normally based on the desired cheese, some cheeses requires pasteurization process. Some cheeses do not require pasteurization process. Mainly, the milk may be pasteurized or heat treated to reduce the spoilage of organisms and improve the environment for these starter cultures, that is nothing but lactobacillus organisms to grow. Once the preheated, that means heat treated or pasteurized, then the milk is cooled after pasteurization or heat treatment to 32 degrees centigrade to bring it to the temperature needed for the starter bacteria to grow. Once the milk is cooled, then this cooled milk is ready to inoculate the starter culture. Once the starter cultures are added to the milk is held at 32 degrees centigrade for 30 minutes to ripen. This ripening step allows the bacteria to grow and begin fermentation, which lowers the pH and develops the flavor of the cheese. So, what is the fermentation? In this fermentation, the lactic acid bacteria converts lactose, this is the complex polysaccharide, into small molecules, that is nothing but lactic acid. Okay, and not only lactic acid bacteria, and the rennet enzyme is the enzyme that acts on the milk proteins to form the curd. After the rennet is added, the curd is not disturbed for approximately 30 minutes, so FM coagulum forms. What is rennet? Rennet is a a set of complex mixture. That means it contains a number of enzymes. For example, chymosin is the protease enzyme. It is responsible for the production of for the coagulation of the milk. It has protease activity. Rennet enzyme is mainly produced in the stomachs of the ruminant animals. It also contains lipase enzymes and pepsin enzymes. So this, when the rennet is added, the curd is not disturbed for approximately 30 minutes. This process will coagulate. That means it forms a film coagulum forms. That means clot of milk occurs. And then the curd is allowed to ferment until it reaches pH 6.4. The curd is then cut with cheese knives into small pieces and heated to 38 degrees centigrade. The heating step helps to separate the whey from the curd. So then the curd is allowed to ferment until it reaches the pH 6.4. Then the curd is cleaved with knives into small pieces and also heated to 38 degrees centigrade. This heating step helps to separate the whey. Whey is nothing but yellow fluid from the curd. This heat treatment removes the water content from the curd. The whey is drained out from the vat. Vat is nothing but large container that is used for the production of cheese, and the curd forms a mat. The curd mats are cut into sections and piled on top of each other and flipped periodically. So this point explains how curd mats are cut into small pieces and these pieces are piled on top of each other and pull these mats periodically. This step is called cheddaring. Cheddaring helps to expel more whey, nothing but more water content. This allows the fermentation to continue until a pH of 5.1 to 5.5 is reached and allows the mats to knit together and form a tighter matted structure. The curd mats are then cutted into smaller pieces. For cheddar cheese, the smaller cut curd pieces are put back in the vat and salted by sprinkling dry salt on the curd and mixing in the salt. So these smaller cut pieces are sprinkled with the dry salt. Okay, and the salted curd pieces are placed in cheese hoops. That means cheese container boxes and pressed into blocks to form the cheese. So these salted curd pieces are placed in cheese hoops. That means a small mold structures, so and pressed into blocks to form the cheese. The cheese is stored in coolers until the desired age is reached. Depending on the variety, cheese can be aged from several months to several years. Cheese may be cut and packaged into blocks. So cheeses are divided into two groups based upon the whether the curd is formed by the action of lactic acid or rennet enzyme. Based on the lactic acid action or rennet enzyme, cheeses are divided into two types: acid curd cheese and rennet curd cheese. In case of rennet curd cheese are two types: soft rennet curd cheese and hard rennet curd cheese. Soft rennet curd cheese means Limburger cheese and Camembert cheese. Coming to the hard rennet curd cheese, that means soft rennet curd cheese contains high moisture content, hard rennet curd cheese contains low moisture content. So these again three types: American cheese, that is nothing but cheddar cheese, and another one is the Swiss cheese, and another one is the Roquefort cheese. In case of Roquefort cheese, mold Penicillium roqueforti, Penicillium camemberti are used to ripen the cheese. So this is the example for the Camembert cheese, and this is the example for Roquefort cheese. I think this blue color means this is the growth of Penicillium roqueforti, and this is the I think this is the Swiss cheese. Sorry, this is the cheddar cheese. this is the cheddar cheese, and this is the Swiss cheese. So these holes, that means how many holes are present in the cheese, uh, they have a good quality. Based upon the holes, they are considered as very good quality cheese. And the health benefits of cheese: so it prevent cancer, it strengthen bones and cartilages, it is an excellent food gaining weight, and it is beneficial in maintaining healthy and strong teeth, and it promotes deposition of calcium and phosphorus in teeth, and it reduces risk of osteoporosis in post menopausal women. Okay, and once ఒక్కసారి మనం చెప్పుకున్న టాపిక్ ని ఒకసారి రిమైండ్ చేసుకుందాం. ఓకే అమ్మా? సో మెయిన్ గా ఏంటి అంటే యోగర్ట్ అంటే ఏంటి, చీజ్ అంటే ఏంటి? సో యోగర్ట్, చీజ్ ఈ రెండు కూడా మిల్క్ ని ఫెర్మెంట్ చేయడం ద్వారా, సమ్ మైక్రో ఆర్గానిజమ్స్ ని యూజ్ చేసి మనం ఫెర్మెంటేషన్ ప్రాసెస్ ద్వారా అప్టైన్ మనకి వచ్చే ప్రోడక్ట్స్. సో ఎందుకు ఇంపార్టెంట్ అంటే ఈ రెండు కూడా చాలా కమర్షియల్లీ ఇంపార్టెంట్, అంటే ఇండస్ట్రియల్ పరంగా లార్జ్ స్కేల్లో ప్రొడ్యూస్ చేస్తారు. సో యోగర్ట్, చీజ్ రెండు కూడా చూడడానికి అంటే ఒక థిక్ కర్డ్ లాంటి స్ట్రక్చర్స్. సో ఇవి రెండు కూడా బ్యాక్టీరియల్ ఫెర్మెంటేషన్ రియాక్షన్స్ వల్ల ప్రొడ్యూస్ అయిన ప్రోడక్ట్స్. కాకపోతే యోగర్ట్ చూడడానికి మీకు అంటే సేమ్ యోగర్ట్ ఇస్ నథింగ్ బట్ కర్డ్, కానీ ఒకలాంటి సాఫ్ట్ జెల్ నేచర్ ఉంటుంది. చీజ్ వచ్చేటప్పటికి కొంచెం థిక్నెస్ వేరేలా ఉంటుంది. యోగర్ట్ ఫ్లేవర్ వేరు, యోగర్ట్ లో ఉండే న్యూట్రియంట్ కంటెంట్ వేరు, న్యూట్రిషనల్ వాల్యూ వేరు, అలాగే చీజ్ యొక్క న్యూట్రిషనల్ వాల్యూ వేరు. యోగర్ట్ మెయిన్లీ డైజెషన్ సిస్టమ్ కి బాగా యూజ్ అవుతుంది. సో యోగర్ట్ లో మెయిన్ కీ రోల్ వచ్చి లాక్టిక్ యాసిడ్ బ్యాక్టీరియా అండ్ స్ట్రెప్టోకోకస్ థెర్మోఫిలస్ ప్లే చేస్తుంది. అండ్ ఇన్ కేస్ ఆఫ్ చీజ్ వచ్చేటప్పటికి చీజ్ లో మనం మెయిన్ గా గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాల్సింది రెన్నెట్ ఎంజైమ్ యొక్క యాక్షన్ గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాలి. అండ్ నెక్స్ట్ ఇంకోటి ఏంటి అంటే చీజ్ మెయిన్ గా ఎలా ఫామ్ అవుతుంది అంటే రెన్నెట్ ఎంజైమ్ యాడ్ చేసిన తర్వాత ఆ వాటర్ ఏదైతే ఉందో వన్స్ కొయాగ్యులేట్ అయిన తర్వాత చీజ్ అందులోంచి వాటర్ ని రిమూవ్ చేసేసిన తర్వాత దాన్ని బాగా ప్రెస్ చేసి చిన్న చిన్న పీసెస్ కింద పెట్టి మళ్ళీ వాటిని బాగా టైట్ గా ప్యాక్ చేసి రిమైనింగ్ వాటర్ కంటెంట్ అంతటిని తీసేసి అలా అయిన హార్డ్ మెటీరియల్ ని మనం చీజ్ అంటాం. సో ఈ చీజ్ లో మళ్ళీ రైపనింగ్ ప్రాసెస్ అంటే కొన్ని రోజులు అలా ఒక సర్టెన్ టెంపరేచర్ దగ్గర ఏ విధమైన మైక్రో ఆర్గానిజం అటాక్ చేయకుండా కొన్ని రోజులు ఇంక్యుబేట్ చేస్తే దీన్ని రైపనింగ్ ప్రాసెస్ అన్నాం. ఈ బేస్డ్ ఆన్ రైపనింగ్ ప్రాసెస్ అలాగే వాటర్ కంటెంట్ ని బేస్ చేసుకుని అందులో ఉండే మాయిశ్చర్ కంటెంట్ ని బేస్ చేసుకుని మనకి డిఫరెంట్ టైప్స్ ఆఫ్ చీజెస్ ఉన్నాయి. అలాగే ఫ్యాట్ కంటెంట్ ని బేస్ కూడా చీజెస్ ఉన్నాయి. కొన్ని ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ స్విస్ చీజ్ తీసుకుంటే హోల్స్ ఫామ్ అవుతాయి. ఆ హోల్స్ అంటే ఎన్ని హోల్స్ ఉంటే దాని యొక్క ఫ్లేవర్, దాని యొక్క టేస్ట్ అంత డిఫరెంట్ గా ఉంటుంది. సో ఇది చాలా వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్ టాపిక్. సో ఒక్కసారి ఈ యోగర్ట్ అండ్ చీజ్ టాపిక్స్ నేను మీకు మెటీరియల్ ప్రొవైడ్ చేస్తాను. ఒకసారి ఆ మెటీరియల్ చూసి జస్ట్ మెయిన్ గా కాన్సెప్ట్ ఫ్లో చార్ట్ యోగర్ట్ మీద, చీజ్ మీద యూ హ్యావ్ టు డ్రా ఫ్లో చార్ట్ అండ్ దెన్ ఈ రెండు నాకు మీ వాట్సాప్ గ్రూప్ లో సెండ్ చేయండి. థ్యాంక్ యూ.